Ever looked at a blueprint and thought, this is just the beginning of something incredible? Welcome to the Inner Blueprint Podcast, where we believe the most extraordinary builds start with you.
I'm Shawn Feurer,
the Universal Mindset Disruptor.
For over 2 decades, I've turned simple plans into remarkable realities in the home improvement world. Now, I'm here to help you do the same for your life and for your business. Make sure to take some notes, and most importantly, enjoy the ride. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Inner Blueprint, the podcast for the home improvement industry and anybody that's looking to think better thoughts to get better results on the outside. I'm Shawn Feurer, your host, and today I'm so excited. I think I sound like a broken record every time I introduce a guest because I just get so excited. The amazing people we've been able to attract that have shared their stories, that have tried to move people with stories of inspiration, of overcoming struggle and challenge. And stay tuned. Keep listening because today's guest is going to leave you all inspired, hopefully give you some insight into the world of mindset and his personal journey, overcoming a lot of challenges in life to lead a successful, happy life. On today's episode of The Inner Blueprint, we have the privilege of hearing from a trailblazing leader in the roofing and solar community. This individual helms a company that has redefined excellence in service, not just in their local community, but on a national scale. Known for their commitment to transparency and integrity, they have transformed their organization into a beacon of trust and quality, winning accolades for their exceptional workmanship. With a remarkable blend of leadership and technical expertise, they've spearheaded innovations in roofing solutions and sustainable technology, steering their company to new heights. Their approach is grounded in clear communication and customer empowerment, making them a revered figure both within their industry and beyond. Today's guest, when he's not leading his company or contributing to industry advancements and events, he's on the basketball court or engaging in community service, driven by a passion for promoting physical and mental well-being. His dedication extends to sharing his insights on industry boards and at conferences, reflecting a deep commitment to both his craft and his community. It's my honor and I feel my privilege to welcome to Inner Blueprint, the podcast, Mr. Carlos Rodriguez of Mr. Roofing. What's up, Carlos?
Oh, man. Another day in paradise, man. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you. I listen to this podcast all the time, and my heart, my spirit, my mindset in the right place. So, Thank you, man, for letting me be a part of this.
Thank you. And anyone who listens to this podcast or has ever heard me, I can get emotional sometimes, right? I'm kind of known for being a big heart person. And Carlos is my brother from another, man. Like when we get into deep conversations, I love the energy we create. I love the spirit and I love the emotion that we share. And, you've been part of some of my small groups and I've seen a more powerful side of that come out in you. So I'm really excited to get in this conversation today. And I think if you're down with it, let's go back to the beginning. Talk about where you were born, how you made it to America, how you made it into the roofing industry. I mean, I think it's such a cool, empowering story that listeners deserve to hear some of.
Oh, man, thank you. Yeah, so I was born in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. We immigrated to this country in 1978. My father, we lived a real pleasant existence in Mexico. I have a beautiful family there. My aunts and uncles, my cousins, they're all still there, and I go back and visit. And, my father, he's an alcoholic. He's been 45 years sober, which really changed my life and our family's life and the trajectory of our family. And, he's always been entrepreneurial and had his own businesses, and he had a taxi business there in Mexico. But because of alcoholism, he literally crashed that business, literally. So he told my mom, hey, I'm going to go to the United States for 6 months and make, accumulate some money and then come back. And my mom said, either we all are going or no one's going, right? And, we made that journey. My aunt lived in San Jose, California, and my grandmother's sister, so my father's aunt, my second aunt, my grandaunt, she lived here in San Francisco. So that was kind of the link, which I'm very happy that we ended up here in San Francisco.
How old were you when this transpired? When your dad had the idea, how old were you, Carlos?
Yeah, so I was 3 years old, and I turned 4, and that was now as a grown man and actually being part of Inner Blueprint and doing a lot of the good work that we do. I've come to realize how impactful, how stressful, how traumatic that experience was, because I was in a safe, loving environment at home, right? And I was literally uprooted here to a whole new world. And one of my favorite comedians, his name is Felipe Esparza. He's a Los Angeles comedian, and he has a joke, and he always says, "Hey, I got here to this country illegally, fair and square, bro." And so, I say that with all due respect, but that is the journey that a lot of people looking for a better opportunity take. And that's a big risk. And a lot of families actually lose lives. It's really traumatic. And so I went through that as a 3-year-old. And I don't remember. I have a couple of memories, but it was very scary. And then being here and finding our way and opportunity is the struggle and the challenge, but something I'm very proud of, because I'm living my wildest dreams, man.
Yeah. So 3 years old, you go from this loving, supported by family. Your dad had been pretty successful up to the point that he wasn't, but you have this great life, and then overnight, you basically wake up in a new country. How did your dad find his way into the roofing business? How was early life in a new country with, really everything being brand new?
Yeah, so my mother found us resources, right, for me to go to school. She bought like a program, essentially, right? It was cassette tapes and like workbooks to learn English. But guess who used them? I did. I was like at home, like a latchkey kid, basically, while they went to work, right? And I would listen to them. And I at school and preschool, I was the first one to learn English. So essentially, as a first generation immigrant, like I became like the translator, the spokesperson, the voice for our family. And my father, his first job was technically at a car wash. And then a friend of him said, "Hey, you should come and check out this roofing business." And it was called Stan the Roof Man. And that's where my father started. One thing I'm super proud of, Shawn, the building that my father first started as a roofer, we own that building. That is where Mr. Roofing is now headquartered. So talk about full circle. Like I said, we're living our wildest dreams, and he loved it. He started doing side jobs, and eventually he said, "Hey," he had his entrepreneurial seizure and said, "I'll do this for myself." That was in 1989, and I was a freshman in high school. I was thrust into a position of like helping them with the family business, right? Because of limitations with his language, I would go out on sales calls with him and help translate, and we would win work. And, that was my experience. During the summers, he would have me go out and work with like the tear-off crews to teach me the value of hard work and keep me out of trouble, right? But as a 15-year-old, I just wanted to hang out at the park with my friends and skateboard. But I was out there with them, and now as a grown up man, I value that. But as a young person, like, I didn't really want to do that. So
did you feel like you lost some of your childhood? I mean, you literally had to be a translator from a very young age. You had to work in the family business. You had a lot of responsibility thrown on you at a very young age. And we talk in mindset about, the emotional events that create paradigms. I think you had a lot of weight for the age that you were at when this all came to be, right?
Yeah, so the concept of eustress, EUSTRESS, is something that I learned. And like the thing that causes you like the most stress or maybe even trauma is most of the time the thing that really makes you great or outstanding. So yes, I can say that, like, I would have rather have been a kid as much as I could. But, eventually my brother's 8 years younger than me. And eventually I had to help, right, with sort of raising my brother in a way, right? Getting him ready to go to school, picking him up from school, helping with the family business, translating, like all that. So there's been moments, right, as a young person that I like absolutely could say like it was frustrating or, I didn't like it but at the same time, man, it made me really responsible. It made me,
Made you who you are.
yeah, that's eustress, right? Thank you. Yeah. It's kind of why a lot of the stuff that I do in my business, like I always say, beware of like the wrath of a patient man or woman, right? I think I'm pretty patient. I can try to keep my cool and all that. However, if a customer complains or says we're not professional, like we dropped the ball, that's like the one thing that really will set me off. And it's because as a 15-year-old kid, Shawn, I didn't know how to handle when a customer would call and, give a complaint about an experience they had with my pops and like the cruise.
Yeah.
I was a 15-year-old kid. My frontal lobe wasn't fully developed. And, that's a paradigm or like a trigger point that now I work on. However, it's the reason why we have 98% customer satisfaction. And it drives me crazy that we don't have 100%, right?
Yeah, I love that about you.
So again, that concept of eustress, like the thing that, was really challenging or hard or that I struggled most with is part of what makes, for good results in other things.
Yeah. So when your dad started the business, I do want you to share this. How did the name Mr. Roofing come about? I love this part of your story.
Yeah. So when my father went to the Contractor State License Board and passed the Contractor State License exam, they tell you got to pick a name. And so he hadn't thought about it really. And so, he wrote down Miguel Rodriguez Roofing, or MR, his initials, MR Roofing. And that was the name, MR Roofing. And when after I graduated from college and started full time here, I would go out on sales calls and give the card and they would say, "Oh, Mr. Roofing, Mr. Roofing." And I was like, you know what? Like, that's what we're going to go with. And so when we incorporated our business, I changed it to Mr. Roofing and been branding it that way. And so it's not Mr. Roof, not Mr. Yeah, we are Mr. Roofing. Right.
Yeah.
And
From your dad's initials too. I just love that. His legacy, even with you, is in the name of the company.
So we ride with it because it helps people kind of remember us, right?
Yeah.
So it happened through happenstance, but a lot of good things happen that way.
Yeah. Well, and I love this because we talk about you came from a good home in Mexico. You had all these good surroundings. Your dad took a risk. It's the American dream to immigrate to America. I mean, that's what this great country was founded on. At some level, we all, at some point, were new to this country, right? It was discovered. There were already people here. We had this, and I think, today's day and age, there's so much talk about opening the borders, closing the borders. But I look at the world that we live in because you're in it. And that wouldn't have happened if your dad wasn't brave and went against the grain and said, "Hey, I'm going to find my way there." And then, you had a little bit of a challenging upbringing, going from that, being in a new country. Where did you get to go to school? Let's talk about your college, man, because I think that's badass with the UM.
Yeah, there has never been change from obedience. And so I'm not saying like just a blind disobedience, right? But whenever there is change, it's usually through asking for your needs or sometimes, breaking a rule or a law. And there's been some laws out there that eventually we can say haven't been fair for like humanity, right? But I'm very proud that my pops and my mom and we immigrated here. So one of the things my mom never had the opportunity to go to school. And my grandfather would say, school is not for women. So she would always say, "Hey, I want you to be the best at whatever you do, and I want you to get your education." And so she was steadfast at that, Shawn. And so, Shawn, I did well in school. I tested well and did all that stuff, but it was boring for me. I never felt like inspired or challenged. And I didn't have any older brothers, cousins, family that went to college or even friends or like a model. Even though I was like in AP classes or honors classes, no one told me when to apply to college or even take the SAT test. So I ended up in a community college because when I was a freshman, one of my teammates in hoops was a senior and he went on to a local community college. So one day my pops asked me, what are you going to do after college? And I was like, man, I don't know. And after high school, excuse me.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm going to go to College of San Mateo, which is our local community college. And there were a couple of inspiring professors and academic counselors. And they would always tell me, you should go to Harvard. You should go to Stanford, Berkeley. And I was like, what? Like, what is that? Like, I don't know. And I was like, okay, well, what do I have to do? And they kind of told me, this is the path, this is what you have to do. And I went to check out different schools and I wanted to go to the best, right? And I ended up going to UC Berkeley. I went to campus, checked it out, and that was my vibe. That is me, man. So I only applied to Cal. Actually, I applied to Cal and they were like, no, like you got to check off another school or apply to another school. And I go, no, I don't want to go anywhere else. And they were like, no, you have to. So I checked off UCLA. I got into UCLA the same day they won the national basketball championship. And my parents were nervous. They didn't want me to go to LA, but I got into Cal and it changed my life, man. I'm grateful that they let me in. And even better, I graduated. And I graduated with really good grades. I did well.
Did you meet your wife at college too? Or was that before? Yeah.
No, and when I say it changed my life, I was chairman of Hermanos Unidos, co-chairman. It's a group of Chicano Latino males because it's a rare species to have Chicano Latino males in any university, really. And this group helps you get through it on 3 pillars. It's like social, academic, and community service. So in that, I became co-chair of that community. I met my wife there. And then, we got pregnant. My last year, she was going into her senior year and I had just graduated. God sent me our oldest, our firstborn. So I teased him a little bit. He was conceived at UC Berkeley and he ended up going to Cal. He graduated from Cal and he is now a director of operations and engagement in Cal Athletics.
Going back, I just want to make a point because I think some people get caught up in their paradigms about immigration, and you said like obedience, right? And breaking. This country was started by a bunch of traitors. I mean, come on. I mean, if the founding fathers would have obeyed the rules, we wouldn't have America. So they went against the grain for their personal belief because they wanted to start a better life. And the pattern, I think, and I love your story because you got to go to Cal because you came here to America. Your son got to go to Cal. And where's your daughter going to school? Do you mind sharing that? I mean, I love that.
No, I don't mind. I absolutely love it. I feel it's part of my worthy ideals right now.
Yeah.
I reflect back on it. Yeah. So my wife and I graduated from Cal. My brother went there, and now he's a professor at San Francisco State. And my daughter is a junior at NYU, which was her dream school. And she wanted to get as far away from us as possible, apparently. But it's the right place for her, man. I'm super excited for her. She's doing some cool stuff out there.
Yeah. I mean, talk about living the American dream, though. Come here with nothing. Dad starts a roofing company. You get to go to college. You raise 2 beautiful kids that are both going to college. Let's talk about Mr. Roofing, too, because you ended up buying your dad out of the company, right? Mm-hmm. What did that look like?
Yeah. So after I graduated from college, I was working in a corporate environment. So, Shawn, back to Inner Blueprint and the work that we've done, that I do there, right? Do it through the space you've provided and through the coaching and guidance as well. I was a rule follower in a sense. It's ironic, right? Because I got here illegally, fair and square, right? But yeah. I was a rule follower. And what I mean by that is like my coaches, my teachers, my parents, they were like, go to school, go work in a corporate environment, do this, do that. And that's like success. I did that, right? And I realized this isn't for me. Like I was working in a corporate environment in a consulting agency, doing well. It just didn't fulfill my soul. I was getting paid well, and they could have paid me more, but I was miserable. And I only lasted like less than a year. So
Wow.
at that point in time, my pop said, "Hey man, I'm thinking of closing our business. Like I'm overwhelmed. Like I can't keep up with it." And he's like, unless you think you might want to be a part of it. And I was like, oh man, like, so when I was 15, the value of like hard work and going to school, which by the way, school and education, there's lots of ways for us to get an education, right? But that's what their vision of it, right? Their paradigm, and they were inputting it into my subconscious. So they were saying it like it was a bad thing. My dad would say, look, if you don't go to school, you're going to have to do this every day, like the tear off crews and stuff like that. And the way I interpreted that was like that was a bad thing or a negative thing, but it's not. Now I've been in charge 26 years of our family business, and it's been the best thing for us, right? So I was doing the corporate environment thing. I thought that was success and didn't like it. So when he asked, I thought back to that, what they were telling me, and I was like, shoot, I don't want to be, a roofer or part of that, or it was a paradigm. But I did a lot of due diligence on the industry. Contractors had the highest complaint category, highest litigation, lowest customer service, no training unless you were maybe a union company. I had a manager tell me, if you can take an opportunity that's lowly regarded and make it better, you look like a star. So I thought, you know what? I think this is a great opportunity. I said, hey, let's link up. I'll take care of sales and operations, and you all take care of production. And we went about it. I've been implementing systems and processes. The one thing I will say, Shawn, up until Inner Blueprint, I don't think I was dreaming big enough, though.
I love that. I love that. It's interesting, and I can't remember. I think we may have talked about this, but I'm just like you and I have a lot of similarities in our hearts and in our purpose and the thing, our subconscious mind gets programmed before the age of 8, right? And you had traumatic things happen in your life prior to 8. My biological dad left when I was 2, came back when I was 6, left again. You started in a new country. I started with a new name. I had changed my name when I was 6 years old. I went from one last name to a different. And then my dad, and I don't know if you know this part, my dad he was a 4.0 student at the University of Utah when he met my mom. And he dropped out of school to provide for this young mom and her 2 kids. And I don't know if he directly told me this or if I indirectly heard this, but I really had this obligation. This man changed his life for me and my mom. I'm going to get a college degree. And so I had the same programming as you. And I, all through high school, got good grades, did my best, was always planning to go to college, even looked at going into pre-med, went to college. I did get the degree, but I never made it to corporate like you. My heart was in the home improvement business. I had learned so much, and I started at 15 years old, tear off crew on a roofing crew, knocking doors when he'd let me knock doors. I mean, anything and everything. And I guess I want to tie that together, and let's talk about why did we find so much purpose in this industry? Because we both were on paths that could have led us out. I mean, I could have ended up in the corporate world. I had I definitely had the smarts for it. I had a college degree. You're in a similar position. You actually started the journey, but there wasn't purpose there. And we both found purpose in our family business that most people say, you're a contractor? You're a roofer? Like, what's the matter with you? Why don't you go get a real job, right?
Yeah, right. You went to the University of Utah and you're a contractor? What? Like, you went to Cal, and I'm like, and now I say it with confidence, absolutely. And again, I say this with all due respect, but you, right, like at a party and there's lawyers, doctors, whatever. So, hey, by the way, in California, contractors are licensed professionals, like doctors, dentists, CPAs, and lawyers. So, we're held to sort of that same sort of standard in as a licensed professional.
It's what drew us back to the business, because we both were on our way to college and on our way on to go into the corporate world. I mean, I remember, I don't know about you, and this really dates me. My goal was to get a corporate job, make $35,000 a year, and drive a white BMW, and I would be successful.
That right goes. And where I'm going, I remember right when I had graduated, if I was somewhere with my friends that went on to get like an MBA or go in law school, and if we were at a party and I would purposely say I'm a roofer, And people would kind of treat me different. And they would kind of then gravitate towards these other folks, right? Because of ego. I felt comfortable because I employ those lawyers. I employ those CPAs, right? Because of our businesses. You know, what fulfills me is it's a big puzzle being an owner, being a visionary of solving issues and sales, marketing, production, operations, admin. So it kind of then fulfilled a lot of that for me of like problem solving. But you know, the biggest thing is working on my help muscle, helping people.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like we get to see the results of our work. I drive my kids crazy because everywhere we go, I'm like, hey, we did that building and we did that building, and you know, and it's like a sense of pride that, you know, so at Mr. Roofing, Shawn, we empower and protect community by providing a peak contractor experience. And that is our purpose. That is why we help people, you know, protect their property, empower the community, keeping their property value, literally powering them. We put solar and batteries on there. You know, there's all of that. And then we do it for different communities. Like some of my teammates are, you know, in the LGBTQ community. They're Filipino. They're like all kind of different communities that we're a part of, and we get to help and protect, respectively, right, the people that we're involved with. And you know what? There are a lot of fuddy-duddies who will say, these young kids or millennials or Gen, whatever. But we have to make it relevant that there is a purpose for them to align and work and help us accomplish the goals that we want.
Yes, yes. And it was for me too. I remember I'd, go to my psychology class at University of Utah, 300 people in an auditorium. Boring, right? I was still learning some things, but then I'd go to work and I'd be at a customer's house and see some little old lady that wasn't able to take care of, some old guy that was painting his siding every year and we literally get to make a difference. And then, like you say, the one thing too I love is you're a competitive athlete. You love basketball. Let's give listeners some takeaways. You run your business like a team. I just heard you say, right? Teammates. What's your title in the company? What's your position in the company?
So I've given myself this title, right, to get me in the right mindset and awareness of Chief Enthusiasm Officer. That is my role. My role is to make sure that we're training, that we're loving, our mission statement really involves us helping people achieve their own personal and financial goals, right? We take care of each other and take care of our customers. We educate our customers, and then we train our teammates so that they can reach their own personal and financial growth. I want to be, we are going to be the best company in the country. And we measure it though, Shawn. We measure customer satisfaction. We measure, gross profit. We measure all of that stuff so that they're facts.
Yes. Yes, you're really providing that. And I do love, because I've worked with a lot of roofers over the years, right? And it's funny because you said it kind of to be funny, right? I'm a roofer, because you knew you had the confidence of what you really were. But a lot of guys, they say they're a roofer like it's a bad thing, or they say they're a contractor. And for me, it's really getting in the spirit of the business. Like for most Americans, I think almost 70%, their home is their number one investment, right? They have more equity in their home than anything else. It's the place they bring babies home to, celebrate anniversaries. To me, the home is a sacred space. And as a home improvement contractor, if you're listening to this and you're not in this spirit, get in the spirit of the business. The more you serve people with their number one asset, take care of it, make it a safe space, communicate. And I do love Carlos has built a reputation and a standard around high levels of customer service. And, all good leadership starts at the top and works its way down. And I've never seen Carlos act like he's above his teammates. He's right there. He is the coach that's right there on their level, assisting, coaching, enthusiastic, leading them along. And I think there's a lot to be learned from that, Carlos.
Oh, thank you, Shawn. I appreciate your kind words.
It's not always easy though, right? What are some of the challenges with trying to have such purpose in your work, to try to create this environment? Because I think you can find this as you hire people. For our company, I remember hearing, I've never been in a construction company like this. There's something different about this place, right? The way we teach people, the way we train people, the way we follow systems and processes.
I think, Shawn, we're at a great intersection in time of a golden era in the home improvement space, especially with the way that we do things. And I say we, right, because you come from the world that we're in and as home improvement contractors. Right, there's money coming in, there's awareness, there's all of that, there's technology. So I'm super proud that, so for example, I majored in psychology, not because I wanted to be a psychologist. I'm fascinated by human behavior. That's why I love Inner Blueprint so much.
Yeah.
Like before Inner Blueprint, I thought I was this mindful, aware, person. And with Inner Blueprint, like with the daily practice, I'm accumulating like a couple hundred hours of like mindfulness. Why psychology was important to me is I knew eventually I'd have a family, I'd work somewhere. And so sales is applied psychology, management is applied psychology, marketing is applied psychology, coaching, all of that stuff is applied psychology. So I feel like I get to implement like the stuff that I've learned and continually learn, right? Because our 5 core values at our company are learn, care, own, improve, and finish. And again, that's all like around real heart-centered stuff. So the challenges come up. An upset customer, right? The production practices, like the only way that we can really affect behavior is understanding it and what's causing it, or what's causing, to use a term that you use, is to remove the resistance. That is why I'm glad that I'm taking the theoretical academic knowledge to a real practical aspect, and it's going to serve us well. So I've gotten invited to speak at the local junior high schools and some of the high schools for Career Day. And I talk about abundance, the concept of abundance. I talk about, certainly my story, I talk about our business, but I'm going to write a book that it's going to be titled, I Want to Be a Roofer When I Grow Up.
Oh, I love it, man.
Yes, because we're, again, that intersection of technology. We're flying drones. We have robotic welders. All the cool technology and everything that we're implementing will help us attract. Like, for example, our COO, Mark Schmidt, has been a great addition to our company, and he comes from that corporate world where they grew big companies, right? We wouldn't be able to attract people like that to our industry if we weren't doing something. So we are a legitimate business, just like anything else that's out there. My production manager, Eloisa, Maria, like they didn't go to college, but they are super smart, hardworking, diligent, and implement the stuff that we do, right? So there's a lot of different, like the difference between education and indoctrination is diversity of perspective, diversity of backgrounds, diversity of all of that, because with that perspective, then we can do more together.
I love it. I love it. And I love that you not only bring the heart to the business, but you bring the psychology. One thing, Carlos, I want to hear your perspective on, speaking of that. You're a psychology major. You were pretty good at mindset, but since you started working with me on Inner Blueprint, when we go back to your story, the times of struggle, frustration, how do you see all of that differently today with your current mindset than you did even just a few years ago? What has kind of shifted and changed in your perspective?
So AA changed my life and my father's life, right? Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yes, 12 steps. And we have 12 modules.
Yeah, right. And so Inner Blueprint is like another form of AA where I talk about awareness and action. Like this awareness of being present and aware, right, and mindful, which allows us to take action. So obviously that's a real simplified version of it.
Yeah.
So the first step, right, is like making a decision. And when you make a decision, then everything you need, it starts to show up, right? But when you're in the middle of that, you don't. So like that's kind of like the very first thing, right? You make a decision. Then it's like the knowledge doing gap. Like I know I got to be doing this, and why am I doing it? I don't know. But now because I get to kind of really self-reflect and be introspective. And
I mean, your story, your dad started with a decision. And it wasn't a popular decision at the time, right? With your family, especially with you as a child. But looking back, you can see the power of that decision. And even though it led to change, which led to movement, which led to friction, the person you became because of that fire that you went under is, I don't know, it's really beautiful to look at it through that perspective for me, to see who you are today and what it took to get you here, man.
Yeah, man. And look, traveling the world, I've traveled the world, all over the world. And, you can really see that we all want the same thing, man. We all want to take care of our families. We all want to live in abundance, no matter whatever corner of the world we're in, right? And
we all want freedom.
Yeah, exactly. And so the inner blueprint, one big eye-opening thing, Shawn, was like, learning how, I love how you say this, my fears are not real and then they're not even mine.
Yeah.
And I was like, right. And the paradigms are like, where did I get that from? Where did I get that from? Doing the work, right? In our smaller groups, the last time we were all together, I was like, hey, wait a minute, guys, this is not acceptable. We got to do the work. You got to do the work. Your affirmations, your all of that, so that we can then be aware and present. That allows us then to, what I tell my kids, and they're not kids really anymore. One's 21, one's 26, but I still tell them, live your wildest dreams. Live your wildest dreams. And which is a lot different from chasing your wildest dreams, from whatever. It's live your wildest dreams. And I think that only happens if you have some time for yourself. And that's what Inner Blueprint has provided for me at an exponential level, man. And it's not a magic pill. No. I still have moments when, I'm challenged, I'm fearful, I'm regretful, but I now have like a couple things that I can reflect on. Be better, be present is the most important thing. Be present. Yes.
When you look back and think of the challenging times growing up, with perspective, they all happened for you, not to you, right? Even though at the time it felt like, we haven't talked about this episode, but you got jumped as a young kid, right? You had some traumatic experiences where shit went down, man.
Yeah. I used to be, like junior high school was a little more free, I would say. And after that, I became sort of guarded, or like my light dimmed a little bit because of like, some circumstances, like getting jumped by a group of guys, and sort of changed my perspective on like humanity, and felt like, man, maybe I shouldn't be as be myself, because I might get my ass kicked. Doing that work has allowed me to, it's what's made me tough. It taught me to stand up for myself. Like, it taught me to be aware. And I still go, Shawn, I'll go in the worst hood anywhere and I'll still make a friend. And, I don't let that stuff stop me. Back to the concept of eustress, right? The stuff that you struggle with. And the more you struggle with something, the more you get better at it, the more you retain it.
Good stuff. So, and I think, from what you've told me, you're already living your dream life, right? Like everything is golden. It's good stuff.
When we were talking about our family business, and eventually, like I joined CCN and met a lot of good people. I've been at the NRCA and different communities and trying to learn, right? That's really important to me. And, I got the business to a place that I thought like, we high customer satisfaction, a really healthy gross profit margin, but the top line, it wasn't a big, huge number, right? And I think that's the part would have loved to kind of do all over again so that I could dream bigger. Yeah. I think if I would have allowed myself to dream bigger, I wouldn't say to dream bigger, but to not allow myself to get caught up in the limiting factors, the limiting mindset, right? That again, which weren't mine and weren't real, aren't mine and aren't real. And that's the part that I'm like, man. So I can tell you this though, Shawn, Inner Blueprint and your coaching came into my life at the right time. Mm-hmm. Because my goal was, when we got pregnant, was to take care of my family, right? My wife and my son. I didn't know how I was going to do that. I get a little emotional, man,
Yeah, no, I love it.
because I was scared. I was
And you
scared.
did it, man. That's the other thing. You did it. They both have gone to college. You raised two
Um,
successful, amazing children, man.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I'm proud of myself. But at that moment, dude, I was scared. I didn't know what I was going to do. And you know what? I had a moment, though, where I was like, I think I was 23, 22, 23. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it with love. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to do it with love and take care of my family. And I'm going to put my faith in God, and I'm going to be all right. We're going to be all right. So why am I saying that? Because when my son graduated from UC Berkeley, it was a dream come true. And by the way, he was a real good football player. He played at Sarah High School, which is one of the top programs in California, even in the nation. He started there at running back and strong safety. He could have went on to play certainly at some smaller schools if that was a dream he wanted to, but he always wanted to go to Cal. And obviously for me, that was like a dream come true. He was eventually co-chairman of Hermanos Unidos at Berkeley, like I was, and which no one else had done. So when he graduated, I felt my motor rev down, like my internal motor, because at that point I had set certain goals around my finances, my relationships, my just sort of goals and stuff, and I felt my motor rev down, and I was kind of like a little bit lost, like what do I do? And it's because we always have to have a worthy goal, right? An inner blueprint, a worthy ideal, and I kind of felt like I reached it, and through doing all this stuff, I have my life script because of the exercise of doing it with Inner Blueprint. I have my which is sort of different and better, right? Or more, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. We've got you dreaming bigger again, right? You're dreaming bigger than you ever have, right?
Yeah, and then now my worthy ideal that I say every day, even I shared it last year with you all in December, and even that I'm like, so I have moments when I'm like, man, that's crazy, like but hey, I'm gonna just surrender to the work, and I'm gonna live my wildest dreams. I'm going to keep saying it every day, my affirmations, my worthy ideal, my life script, and it's going to happen.
It's already done. I can already feel it. It's already done, man. You just got to go through. So what does dreaming big look like? You mind sharing a little bit of that? Like different house, different business, more travel? Like what do you see on the horizon?
We've always traveled somewhere new every year. So like all that stuff, I feel like, and Shawn, I wanted to do it. I'll share a quick story. When I would read books, right, in elementary school, and it would be like Washington, D.C. and the Capitol or whatever, like the Eiffel Tower, I would say, you know what, I'm going to go there. And I was like second grade, and I'm like, I'm going to go there. Like, I'm going to go see these things. So I've done that, right? I've chased and went to go see stuff all around the world, but at second grade, I said, I'm going to do it with my kids. I didn't have kids then or whatever, but I was already like, that was my inner blueprint then, right? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, like we've been in the same house for 24 years. And I want to have a place, the perfect place that my grandkids, like my kids, my friends, all of you can come, and, it's the perfect place for love, happiness, and friendship. So yeah, it's part of my inner blueprint that I say every day. And in California, like it's like I say, I'm like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but it's done. It's done. And then I want my Mr. Roofing and my businesses, right? Because real estate and other stuff that I do to run by themselves without me, at billions of dollars, which again, I'm like, man, but hey, it's done, right?
You start saying it, it's a set point. We're raising your set point to a whole new level on the inside, which will attract it on the outside. I love it.
And it's true, because now, like, part of my frustration is I feel like I definitely should have a bigger organization. I'm very proud of, again, my family, the results, like the goals that I've hit. And the frustrating part is I do feel that I am a powerhouse. And I just feel like I've dimmed the light and been afraid to kind of be myself.
Well, as we've seen, Carlos, when you show up powerfully as you can move mountains. You can. Like it's pretty incredible to see. And I love that you're reopening to new possibilities, taking everything to the next level. I mean, that's what this whole journey is about is, we're either growing or we're dying. And I love seeing you continue to lean in and grow, man. And
really, it really is to help people, Shawn. I want to make more millionaires than I can count. As part of my businesses, right? Where I'm going is I want to help people. When I talk about billions of dollars, it's not so that it's really because I get to do so much good with that money.
Yes.
Right.
It's the purpose behind the worthy goal. Yeah. It's the purpose you put behind it. Yes.
Yeah. It's so that I could help other kids have an opportunity. They want to go to trade schools, if they want to go to universities, if they want to whatever, give folks an opportunity, all that. I want to help. I want to help our communities protect their investments. That's really where it comes from.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing the psychology, the mindset, like the challenges you've overcome to get to where you are. And I love that you're living your best life. And how does it get better? Can't wait and see.
It just did, baby. It just did. I appreciate you for creating the space, Shawn. You're affecting lives. You're changing lives for the better. I'm proud of you. I'm proud to consider you like my friend, my coach, a mentor. Thank you for creating the space for us. And, appreciate you challenging me and letting me be uncomfortable and sharing my story, because I really believe in being humble, right? Because if you're not humble, something or someone will humble you.
Yes.
And so I'm just coming from a place of, again, wanting to help people. And I appreciate you allowing me to kind of broadcast this out there.
Thank you, man. That means the world. And I say reach for the stars, but keep one foot grounded on this earth, right? You got to be grounded. You got to be humble. You got to be grateful. And in that space, we can create magic. And thank you for your kind words. I'm so proud of you, man. Like the challenges you've overcome, the life you've built. Thanks for being part of our community. Thanks for sharing your message to Inner Blueprint. If people want to connect with you at some level after hearing you, because I'm sure many people are like, who is this guy? I need more of Carlos in my life. What's the best way to connect with you, man?
I can be reached at email. My email is carlos@mrroofing.net. My cell phone, 650-333-2405. I have a little bit of social media presence, not a whole lot, right? But yeah, the best thing, man, I'm an energy person. I like to interact and deal with people.
If you're feeling called to talk to Carlos, reach out to him, give him a call. And Carlos, thank you, man. This is a great episode. I can't wait to drop it in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, man.
And just like that, we've laid another brick in the foundation of your incredible journey. Thanks for tuning into the Inner Blueprint podcast with Shawn Feurer, your navigator through the maze of mindset and success. Remember, every tool you need is already in your belt. It's all about how you use them to craft the masterpiece that is your life and business. Now, don't let the momentum stop here. Follow me on social media and subscribe wherever you get your podcast to never miss an episode filled with the blueprints to your best self.